True Story Media.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. When you visit the doctor, you probably hand over your insurance, your ID, and contact details. It's just one of the many places that has your personal info. And if any of them accidentally expose it, you could be at risk for identity theft. LifeLock monitors millions of data points a second. If you become a victim, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year at lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Disney and Pixar's Elio has a new home. Now streaming on Disney+.
That's amazing!
Critics agree. Elio is fun and full of heart and humor.
These are the lava tunnels. I am not fireproof! Just get in my mouth. Actually kind of comfy in here. It is?
It's certified fresh and verified hot.
Ta-da!
Elio's bringing the whole family together on Disney+.
1, 2, 2.5, 3!
Disney and Pixar's Elio, now streaming on Disney+. Rated PG.
This podcast contains adult themes and language, and some of the things that we discuss may be disturbing to some listeners. In this podcast, we discuss sexual assault, torture, race, and murder. Listener discretion is advised. Please take care of yourself.
Welcome to Fruitloops, Buiti Binafi, and Bienvenidos Bitches. Thank you so much for listening. Fruitloops is a true crime, history, and comedy podcast that delves into the often overlooked stories of serial killers of color and, more importantly, the victims. We take deep dives into the lives and crimes of these killers worldwide, while also examining the history, culture, and social factors that may have influenced their actions. And the reason that we cover these crimes is because they often go unnoticed by the public. And why is that? Because in the simplest of terms, the news is racist. Allegedly.
And we are Wendy and Beth. She's Wendy, a Black Latinx woman, and I'm Beth, and I just happen to be white. That's just a little piece of who we are. Another piece is that although we are both fascinated by true crime, really fascinated by true crime, and we know a lot about it, keep in mind that we are not journalists, investigators, or psychologists, and the opinions expressed in this podcast are just that, our opinions.
So who are we talking about today, Beth?
Today we're talking about Dontae Rashawn Morris, a man who went on a killing spree in Tampa, Florida in May and June of 2010, leaving at least 4 people dead. His victims included 2 Tampa police officers, and their murders were captured on the police dash cam video.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, before we get into this case, which is wow, how you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
Probably better than last time we talked. It's
good.
Still a rough
Glad to
year.
Hear it. Yes.
But we're getting through it. It's just a lot of stuff going on. I know every week I'm like, it's a lot.
It is.
But it is. And it just never seems to cease.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll calm down.
Calm down. Yeah. I'm looking forward to hearing from you and you being like, I'm so bored. There's nothing going on.
That's never going to happen. I'm never bored.
Yeah, me either.
If I ever get bored, I start researching a podcast episode.
Boom. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. That's how it's done, folks.
Yep.
Well,
so how you doing?
Hang in there, friend. It can't suck forever.
It can't. I hope.
This too shall pass. I'm doing good. School started, and at first I was like so excited to get these damn kids out of my house.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, oh, they're going to be gone all day. It's going to be so smooth. I'm going to get so much work done. But it has not been.
Aw.
We're in a new school. It is a challenge for my kids, each one for different reasons. And we're going through it, but we're going to get through it. And we just got to keep trying and we'll find our groove. We're just not there yet. So
yeah, well, good.
Shout out to all the parents going through it at the beginning of the school year. It is tough.
It's rough. Yeah. It is. It's a bumpy road.
Hell yeah. Oh my gosh. Remember that scene in Ace Ventura, where he's sitting in the car and he's like bouncing up and down like a maniac, as if he's going through like a really bumpy road through the Sahara. And the guy in the passenger seat is just sitting normal,
there,
looking at him like what the fuck? That's what I feel like. I'm bumping around.
Everybody else is
just cool, calm, collected. So anyway, but I know I'm not alone because I know
there's lots of us bumping around. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take a quick break and then we'll get into the story when we come back.
All right.
Oh, right. We are back. Remind us, Beth, who is the subject today?
Our subject today is Dontae Rashawn Morris, who carried out a series of killings in Tampa, Florida in 2010, taking the lives of at least 4 people over several weeks. Among his victims were 2 Tampa police officers whose murders were caught on a patrol car's dash cam.
Yeah, and this case got as much notoriety as it did because law enforcement were the victims, and it was such a horrific, scene.
Yeah, but there were other victims too.
Yes.
And I don't think it would have gotten any attention if not for that.
Yeah, same, which is also a tragedy. Yeah. So now it's the love and light portion of our show where we just would like to say rest and power to the victims whose lives were cut short, and love and light to their loved ones and communities left in the wake of this crime. The victims were Derek Anderson, 21, Harold Wright, 25, Rodney Jones, 42, David Curtis, 31, and Jeffrey Kokab, 31. Now we're going to get into the setting and the early life of the Dashcam Killer. Take us there, Beth.
Tampa, Florida is the setting, and Tampa sits on the Gulf Coast at the north shore of Tampa Bay, where for centuries, the Tocobaga and Calusa peoples lived off fishing, trade, and mound-building societies. But the arrival of Spanish explorers in the 1500s brought devastation through violence and disease.
By the 1700s, the region had become a refuge for displaced Native peoples and Africans escaping slavery. Together, they formed the Seminole people, and Black Seminoles in particular played a vital role in resisting U.S. expansion during the Seminole Wars.
But when Spain ceded Florida to the United States in 1821, Tampa soon embraced chattel slavery, relying on enslaved Black labor for plantations and industry. After the Civil War, freed people built resilient communities, carving out spaces of safety and self-determination, even under the crushing weight of segregation.
The Scrub and West Tampa became strongholds of Black civic life, while Central Avenue blossomed into a cultural hub where Black enterprise thrived and jazz greats like Ray Charles and Ella Fitzgerald performed.
These gains, however, were fragile. Jim Crow laws, racial violence, and urban renewal projects systematically undercut Black Tampa. Entire neighborhoods were razed for highways, scattering families and erasing cultural landmarks.
Yeah, we see it all too often, especially in the United States.
Yeah.
Even sacred ground was stolen. Zion Cemetery, Tampa's first African-American burial ground, because even cemeteries were segregated, which is so stupid.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was paved over and hidden beneath public housing until its rediscovery in 2019. For more than a century, Tampa's Black residents did a lot of rinsing and repeating. They would build, rebuild, and then fight to preserve dignity against forces of erasure. And they still do that to this day.
Yeah. And it was in this city, with its layered history of resilience and injustice, that Dontae Morris was born prematurely on August 24th, 1985, to 16-year-old Celicia Hunter. Less than a year later, her mother took legal action to force David Eugene Morris to pay child support.
In July 1986, David Morris, a month shy of 19 when Dontae was born, acknowledged that he was the father and he agreed to pay $25 a week in child support. But the payments did not continue for long, and on November 14th, 1987, David Morris was murdered, a crime that has never been solved, and at the time Dontae was just 2 years old.
His mother, still a child herself, struggled with severe postpartum depression and was unable to bond with him. In his early years, Dontae was cared for by his maternal grandmother, but her fragile health meant she couldn't provide consistent support. He began forming a connection with his step-grandfather, but that too ended abruptly when the man became addicted to crack and left the family.
Dontae's childhood was marked by constant upheaval. He cycled through multiple schools and relatives' homes, gaining 2 step-siblings along the way. During just 2 years of his early teens, he attended 5 different schools, never finding stability.
His mother, by then known as Celicia Watson, admitted she knew her son was getting into trouble but didn't realize how deep it went. Frustrated by her limited success in blending him into her new family, she pulled back, while Dontae felt increasingly isolated, rejected, and alone. At 16, he left home to live with his paternal grandfather.
Dontae Morris grew up in a Tampa shaped by both opportunity and inequity. His aunt Carolyn Riggins worked inside the Tampa Police Department, a department itself marked by racial conflict.
In 1974, 4 black officers known as the Fearless Four had sued the city for discrimination, forcing reforms that opened the ranks to black officers and women. Yet mistrust between police and black communities ran deep, a tension that Morris would one day embody in tragic ways.
Ooh, oh my goodness. By his teens and early 20s, Morris was already caught in cycles that mirrored the systemic struggles of the community he came from. His record spanned 14 pages. Wow. Starting with minor charges like disturbing the peace and escalating to weapons offenses and drug cases and attempted violent crimes.
He served multiple stints in prison, with each release followed by new arrests. Between stints, Morris would stay with his grandfather, his grandmother, or his mother and stepfather's house. His personal life included girlfriends and a son, Dontae Jr. It's said that he liked to read and to rap, and his nickname was Quelo, sometimes shortened to just Quay.
His life was marked by instability, repeated probation violations, and increasing involvement with the justice system. You know, that's the way it works. Once you're in, the system is more likely to chew you up and spit you out, than to rehabilitate you. So in the same city where freedmen, specifically black freedmen, once built churches and schools despite oppression and where civil rights activists fought for fair treatment from police, Morris's path reflected how loss, inequality, and systemic failure can shape a person's future. So now let's get into the timeline. What happened, Beth?
On May 18th, 2010, a basketball court argument between Derek Anderson and Dontae Morris escalated into violence. That night, 21-year-old Derek was heading home to the apartment he shared with his mother, unaware that the dispute he'd had earlier with Dontae Morris was far from over and would soon turn deadly.
At around 11:20 p.m., Derek was walking with his friend Joe when they noticed a white car trailing them. Joe later testified that the vehicle slowed to about 5 miles per hour, and he saw 4 men inside watching them closely.
That would be
bone-chilling.
Yeah, scary. Mm-hmm. When the two reached Derek's apartment complex, they split up, Joe heading towards his home and Derek crossing the parking lot towards his apartment. A few minutes later, Joe, still worried about the white car, called Derek.
Derek picked up the phone. His voice sounded steady. As he walked toward his apartment and started up the stairs, still talking to Joe, Morris waited just 20 yards below. Seconds later, gunshots rang out, and on Joe's end, the call suddenly dissolved into static.
When Joe called back, someone else picked up. This time, all he heard were screams and chaos. Alarmed, he rushed back to Derek's apartment, only to find police cars, neighbors, and paramedics clustered around Derek's lifeless body at the doorway.
What a horrific scene.
Yeah.
Although paramedics rushed Derek to the hospital, medical staff fought in vain to save him. At 12:33 a.m., he was pronounced dead. The autopsy showed that a single bullet had entered Derek's back, tearing through his heart, aorta, esophagus, and lungs before lodging in his chest.
The upward angle of the wound suggested the shooter had fired from below as Derek stood on the landing. Death came quickly, within seconds to minutes, as Derek bled out just steps from the safety of his home.
That is so eerie.
Yeah.
A few days after Derek's murder, Morris called his friend Ashley Price. Although they had been intimate in the past, their relationship was no longer romantic. But they continued to talk almost daily, mostly by phone. Ashley also knew Derek Anderson from the apartment complex where she once lived. She was aware he sold cannabis there.
During this particular phone call, Morris made a shocking confession. He told her that he had killed Derek. Earlier that day, he explained the two had argued over Derek's drug dealing. Not that he didn't want him to, but he didn't want him to do it there.
Aha, okay.
Yeah. Morris considered the complex his territory, and he wanted Derek to stop. Derek defiantly told him he would sell wherever he wanted to.
That night, around midnight, Morris spotted Derek, again inside the complex, keeping his distance. He followed silently as Derek walked home. And when Derek reached his second-floor apartment and stood by the door talking on his phone, Morris positioned himself below on a knee-high wall in the breezeway. So it's like hunting him.
Yeah, exactly. From there, he had a clear view of his target. He raised his gun and fired. Derek collapsed instantly. Morris told Ashley he knew exactly where to shoot a person to ensure that they wouldn't survive. Investigators later confirmed the layout matched Morris's account.
Then on May 31st, Rodney Jones was shot in the neck outside the Cotton Club bar in West Tampa. Morris was allegedly one of the two men who approached Jones early that morning and demanded money. Jones was then shot and killed.
The killing appeared motivated by both money and revenge. Jones had been flashing large amounts of cash that night, and he had reportedly once held Dontae Morris at gunpoint during a drug robbery, leaving him stranded on the roadside.
Oh, so he's got a
vendetta. Grudge. Yeah.
So 2 witnesses later placed Morris at the Cotton Club that night, and he tried to fabricate an alibi. At 3:50 a.m., about an hour and 20 minutes after the shooting, Morris sent text messages to his girlfriend, Courtney Brantley, saying, quote, "Listen, if anything foolish happens, you and me spend the night together in Palm River. ... Erase these after you read." Unquote.
So Rodney Jones left behind 2 sons and 2 grandchildren.
Wow. Rest in power, Rodney. So on June 8th, Morris allegedly shot and killed Harold Wright, who tragically happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Wright had delivered drugs to Morris on behalf of another dealer. Oh, that's so nice of them. No, it's not. It was a ruse. So on behalf of another dealer, Morris's true target. When the dealer didn't appear, Morris killed Wright anyway to quote unquote send a message.
Then on June 29th at about 2:13 a.m., Tampa police officer David Curtis pulled over a red Toyota Camry in East Tampa at the intersection of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and 50th Street for missing license plates. Morris's 22-year-old girlfriend, Courtney Brantley, was the driver. Morris was in the passenger seat.
Morris calmly identified himself, giving his name, age, and birth date as though it were a routine traffic stop. Officer Curtis then turned his attention to the driver, Courtney Brantley, the girlfriend, questioning her about the missing license plate. Brantley claimed the tag had been stolen.
Curtis returned to his patrol car and typed Morris's information into the onboard computer. The screen flashed a red flag. Morris had an outstanding warrant from Jacksonville for check fraud. Curtis radioed for backup, and within moments, Officer Jeffrey Kokab arrived, pulling in behind Curtis's cruiser.
I was just wondering about and I don't know anything about policing, other than, what most of us know. But if it's not a violent crime, do they need to call for backup to arrest somebody who has a warrant? I'm just putting the question out there.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Just to be on the safe side, they want to have another officer there with them.
Another set of eyes?
Yeah, maybe not necessarily for safety, but just to have
procedurally.
Their back. Yeah, procedurally. Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't really know. I'm just pulling that out of my ass.
If it's just a traffic stop and it's just for a license plate and it's just for check fraud, I don't know. I
think because they're going to arrest him,
I see.
Yeah.
Maybe need 2 people. Okay.
Yeah.
Officer CoCab 31 had a wife. Her name was Sarah, and she was 9 months pregnant. He was previously with the Plant City Police Department before joining the TPD, Tampa Police Department, 14 months before this incident.
Officer Curtis, also 31, had a wife, Kelly, and 4 children. He had been an officer with Tampa Police for more than 3.5 years. He was a Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office jail deputy before joining the Tampa Police Department.
Beth, you touched on something earlier about how this case got more notoriety because there was officers involved.
That's what I think, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't find much on the victims who were not the police officers.
Yeah, I had to really dig. I had to really dig. And I found a lot of information on some and not others.
Mm-hmm. But together, the 2 officers walked to the passenger side of Brantley's Toyota Camry. The dash cam video captured everything. Officers Curtis and CoCab approached the car on the passenger side, standing shoulder to shoulder. Curtis and CoCab ordered Morris out of the car.
At first, he complied, stepping out as if he were ready to surrender. Officer Curtis instructed him to put his hands behind his back. Morris began to put his hands behind his back, but in a split second, the encounter turned deadly.
Morris pulled a gun and fired point blank, shooting both officers in the head before they even had a chance to react. Boom, boom, right?
Yeah.
The officers fell together in a heap, motionless. Morris jumped over their bodies, nearly tripping as he fled.
Inside the car, Courtney screamed, "Quay, Quay," Morris's nickname, before flooring the gas and speeding away. Tires screeched as the vehicle disappeared. Then there was silence. On the dashcam video, the timer ticked away. No radio calls came from either officer.
Several minutes later, voices pierced the silence. "Oh my God, it's 2 of them! They're both down!" cried a bystander. 2 women ran into view, Renee Roundtree and Dolores Keene. Renee knelt and checked pulses. "One's breathing! Both of them are breathing!" she shouted.
Dolores frantically dialed 911. "You've got 2 officers down. They've been shot. Please hurry." Red and blue lights soon filled the scene. Officers swarmed the roadside, checking pulses, performing CPR, and calling out desperately, "Jeff, come on, buddy. Hang in there, buddy."
Chest compressions were counted aloud. More officers arrived, their voices overlapping. "You're here. Stay with us. Come on." This video stopped at 15 minutes and 25 seconds, showing only frantic attempts to save the 2 men. Both were rushed to Tampa General Hospital, where they were later pronounced dead.
Autopsies confirmed fatal gunshot wounds to the head. A firearms expert testified later that both bullets came from the same weapon. Chief Jane Castor later explained that the officers had been wearing body armor, but the shots struck in unprotected areas.
Morris fled on foot after the shooting. That night, he again called Angela Price and described to her how the killings happened. He told her that he assumed the police would find a murder warrant, either for the death of Derek Anderson or Harold Wright. And he sure does spill a lot of business to Angela Price, which will later be his downfall.
Yep. Well, I mean, he did a lot of things that were his downfall.
Good point. This OG True Crime, she does it every single episode. Every single one.
So when they got pulled over, he had thought they were about to arrest him for murder, but he was wrong. They only wanted to arrest him on the bad check warrant.
Morris told Ashley he had to shoot the officers. He had to shoot the officers to get away. And that when the officers asked him to step out of the car, he pulled a gun from under the seat and fired point blank at both of them. He said he told her, quote, "I shot those crackers," unquote. So I was thinking about, this cracker culture corner. I feel like with regard to the word cracker, which in this context, Morris engages in a common use of the word as sort of a slur to describe white people.
Right.
And although I must say, I don't think it has the same sting or horrifically violent or oppressive history tied to it.
No. Whenever somebody says cracker, I laugh.
It's funny.
It's funny.
Yeah, it's funny. And
have you seen that video or it's like a sound on TikTok?
Oh, where she's at Subway and he goes, "Hey, do you serve crackers here?" She goes, "We serve everybody."
No, not that one. Oh. It's another one. It's a sound where it's like from a video describing how crackers are made. And it's like, and here the crackers are on the conveyor belt and they're being, and the videos are always white people doing something. Like they're riding around on golf courts. Here, the crackers are
hilarious. Yeah, you're right. It really there's a lot of laughter and jokes and like lore
it's not
around
oppressive.
It, but not pain
because
or oppressive or violent. Yeah,
because it doesn't have that pain and violence and oppression attached to it.
Exactly.
The other word.
The other words. And there's so many because America is so good at racism. Yeah, there's so many words.
True.
But I was interested in the kind of the etiology of it. And some say it was a word used to describe like poor, raggedy white folks back in the day. And then I've heard others have said that it was used to refer to actually the overseers on a plantation, who were often the poor whites who couldn't own slaves, but they could work on the plantation, and get paid.
Right.
And they would crack the whip. So whip,
that's where the
whip
cracker
crackers
came from.
Yes, or use the whip to punish and force enslaved people to work. And for a while, there was an internet claim that I'm pretty sure is false. I'm going to just say it's false. That part of the logo of Cracker Barrel restaurant had a white man with a whip next to the barrel. And I heard that rumor and just closed my eyes, pictured the Cracker Barrel logo and was like, oh, of course. Yeah, that is a whip. But it's not. You have to look at it closer. It's not. Look at it a little bit closer. It's not. But anyway, back to the story.
Okay. So Ashley had just described how Morris had called her and told her he killed the police officers. Mm-hmm. And the very next day, she went to the Tampa Police Department and she spoke with a detective and told him what she knew.
Mm. So now it is time for the investigation and the arrest. So inside Officer Curtis's patrol car, detectives found the evidence that would point them straight to Dontae Morris. On the front seat lay Curtis's notepad alongside Courtney Brantley's driver's license.
Scribbled on the notepad was the name and birth date Morris had given when asked to identify himself, and it was his name and birth date.
He gave his government?
Yeah,
wow.
He did. Yeah. The in-car computer told the rest of the story. Morris's full profile, complete with his photograph, was pulled up on the screen.
Got him.
Yeah.
Got him. So with both officers dead and Morris's identity confirmed, detectives wasted no time. A warrant was issued, and what followed became the largest manhunt in Tampa's history. Morris was now wanted on 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felon in possession of a firearm.
Authorities put up a staggering $75,000 reward. $50,000 was from the FBI, $10,000 from the U.S. Marshals, another $10,000 from the Police Defense Fund, and $5,000 from Crime Stoppers. Eventually, the reward was increased to $101,000.
Holy smokes!
Yeah.
And again, there's other victims in this
right.
whole case. So meanwhile, attention turned to Courtney Brantley, the driver of the car, initially questioned and released. She was later arrested on a rare federal charge, witnessing a felony and failing to report it, which I didn't know was a crime.
Yeah.
Witnessing a felony? Well, hello. We live in America. And we see what's going on.
We see felonies every day.
It's a lot of crimes.
Yeah. I see one in the White House.
I see so many crimes where you shouldn't see any. But anyway, so that's a crime. She got charged with it. And prosecutors allege she knew Morris was a felon carrying a gun, but said nothing. And it's total bullshit. But the case eventually collapsed against her, and that charge was dismissed.
For 4 tense days, Tampa remained on edge. Helicopters circled, police scoured neighborhoods, and tips poured in. Yet the manhunt ended quietly, almost anticlimactically. Morris walked into a South Tampa law office, Fernandez, Larkin, and Garcia, a converted house on Azeel Street, and surrendered without a fight.
This stood out to me. I'd never considered, you don't have to go to the police station to turn yourself in. You could just go to a lawyer.
Law office.
Yeah, a criminal lawyer. Yeah. And then
they would call the police. Yeah.
Yeah. And it might be a safer way to turn yourself in.
Yeah. Yeah.
All I'm saying. Yeah.
Right.
Because I wonder if they had manhunted him.
Oh, he would have been
further.
killed.
He think he would have been killed.
He would have been killed. And I think that's why he did it.
Yeah. So at just 24 years old, Morris was placed in solitary confinement at the Orient Road Jail. There, he was held in the same facility as his younger brother, 21-year-old Dwayne Calloway. That same week, Calloway had been arrested on drug possession and probation violation charges. Later, his charges were upgraded to include being a felon in possession of a firearm.
A search of his motel room on Fowler Avenue turned up a Taurus .22 caliber revolver, deepening the shadow already hanging over the family name. And I think they looked for him and searched his motel room and everything because they were looking for Dontae Morris.
Yeah.
Though Calloway wasn't formally charged with helping Morris hide, his arrest report suggested otherwise, describing him as, quote, providing refuge, unquote.
The arrest report suggests that.
Yeah.
Interesting. That Sunday at New Testament Missionary Baptist Church in Tanatosasa, Morris's mother, Celicia Watson, and his stepfather, Gary Watson, sat quietly in the pews. Gospel music filled the room, and the service moved forward without any word about the week's violence or about Morris, who had last attended on Mother's Day.
Afterward, Reverend John Anderson acknowledged the family's pain. Quote, they have been coming to me for guidance, comfort, and strength. They are still taking it hard. The problem is not over, unquote.
Now let's get into the trial. So Morris remained in jail without bail. Then in July 2012, he stood trial for the murder of Rodney Jones. Prosecutors leaned on text messages and witness testimony, and in March 2013, a jury convicted Morris of murder and attempted robbery.
He was sentenced to life in prison without parole, plus an additional 25 years.
Wow.
Well, that seems excessive.
Yeah,
I mean,
why?
I always find these sentences like 300 something years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He's never getting out.
It's illogical. Yeah, you just stamp
Just life
he's
without
never
parole,
getting
okay?
out. Yeah, simple as that.
At sentencing, Dontae Morris's mother, Celicia Watson, did not ask for leniency. Instead, she addressed the family of Rodney Jones, apologizing for their loss. Morris looked away as she spoke.
But the bigger trial was still to come. In November 2013, Morris faced charges for the murders of the Tampa police officers, Jeffrey Kilcab and David Curtis. At trial, jurors were shown dash cam footage from Officer David Curtis's patrol car, a chilling record of the moments leading up to the murders.
The evidence was damning, and the jury needed just 4 hours to return a guilty verdict. In May of 2014, a Hillsborough County judge sentenced him to death.
Even then, Morris's legal battles were not over. In June, a judge scheduled another trial for the murder of Derek Anderson. A ballistics expert tied the same gun used to kill the two officers to Anderson's murder.
And in July of 2015, after 3 days of testimony, a jury found Morris guilty once again. He was sentenced to death for a second time. So he's got life without parole, plus 25 years and 2 death sentences.
Yeah, it's not looking good for him. This is what accountability, I think, looks like in some people's eyes. But authorities also tied him to the murder of Harold Wright. There's more. Investigators found Morris's fingerprints at the scene, and an acquaintance later told police that Morris had planned to rob Wright. But in December 2015, prosecutors abruptly announced they would not pursue charges in that case, offering no public explanation, which is a tragedy because this man's death is unanswered.
Yeah, my understanding was they didn't feel like they had enough evidence in his case.
Okay.
So with multiple death sentences now finalized, the judge ordered Morris transferred to the Florida State Prison's death row.
So now let's get into where are they now? Well, let me tell you. Morris is currently being housed in the Union Correctional Institution, a large state correctional facility located in unincorporated Union County, Florida, near the town of Rayford.
Still on death row.
Still on death row, and I don't believe that's going to change.
No.
Now we're going to get into what we think made Morris the dashcam killer snap and our takeaways on this case. What are your thoughts, Beth?
Well, he grew up with a lot of instability.
Mm-hmm.
His father was murdered when he was 2, and his mother was a teenager struggling with depression, and she couldn't provide a steady environment.
Mm-hmm.
He was, raised partially by his grandmother, who really couldn't take care of him. She was too frail.
Yeah.
And he was moved between relatives, which likely disrupted...
Like a hot potato.
Like a hot potato, yeah. It likely disrupted attachment and trust in authority figures.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of trauma often leaves a person vulnerable to anger, mistrust, and difficulty regulating emotions. As a teen and young adult, he cycled through arrests, probation violations, and short stints in prison. And prison isn't good for anybody if your intent is to rehabilitate.
Right.
If you're going to spit these people back into the world...
Can you fix them? Fix them up a little bit?
Yeah, you got to fix them up a little bit, yeah.
Can you give them some help, maybe?
Give them a little counseling. I don't know.
But that will cost too much money, and we've got defense spending to deal with.
To house them and then spit them back out into society.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So his probation violations and arrests suggest to me a pattern of poor impulse control and a tendency to see rules as obstacles rather than boundaries.
Oh,
and
bars.
There's evidence of personal grudges and impulsive decisions.
Yes.
He killed Derek Anderson after an argument on a basketball court.
Mm-hmm.
Rodney Jones's murder was partly about revenge.
Yeah.
While Harold Wright was killed, if he killed Harold Wright, he wasn't convicted of Harold Wright's murder, but he was killed simply to send a message to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And then the murders of the 2 police officers seemed more about desperation because he didn't want to go back to prison. So a lot of impulsivity.
Yes. Yeah. Great observation, OG.
So in short, unresolved trauma and instability, impulsivity mixed with anger, and a readiness to use violence for both revenge and survival.
I completely agree, which is why I'm going to skip over many of the things I wrote in my takeaways. Abandonment, you said that. Moved around, you said that. I wanted to touch on the aftermath of this case had to have been highly racialized given the circumstances.
Yeah, you would think so.
Being
2
Tampa, but it
police
wasn't.
Officers.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
It did not. Maybe in whispers amongst the people, but not on the news or in publications.
You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, the news articles, I didn't see any like dog whistles or anything like that.
Yeah, which was it's just interesting because because this
you would
is
think
America.
This place,
exactly,
this America, this state,
Tampa, this the Florida of it all, because race plays a history in all of our lives, but in this particular place, it is significant, the racial history and all the layers of it. And if he grew up there, impoverished, with little opportunity, tough early life, his blackness is a strike against him, his poverty is a strike against him, and living in a highly policed neighborhood is also not helpful. So it's not surprising that he got into trouble at a young age. And once they get you, the preschool to prison pipeline for Black kids is real. And so once the system has a Black body, it's very unlikely and hard for it to let it go. And while it is not an excuse, only an oversimplified explanation by a very simple podcaster. I think it's okay to have empathy for the child that Dontae Rashawn was. I mean,
poor little kid.
Reading about his, like, the odds were stacked, and it's just sad.
Yeah, it is very sad. Yeah.
And whenever something tragic happens to a person, and there's media and police attention, but it seems to be amplified 1,000 times when a police officer is killed in the line of duty.
Yeah.
Not even in the line of duty. It's just any police officer dead is just
it's one of their own.
Huge deal. Yeah.
They make a big deal out of it. Yeah.
Every time in my head, I'm like, but wait, why? It doesn't make sense in my head if everybody deserves life and everybody deserves justice and protection and peace and safety, then shouldn't those taxed? Then shouldn't everybody get the same treatment? I think that's the whole thesis of Fruit Loops.
Yeah, but our world is not equitable. No.
Yeah, it is not. It is not. I just think you should keep the same energy for all murders.
For everybody. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I also found the victim statements to be so compelling. And the one that stuck with me the most, because I have never seen it before, because we know in theory, the mother of the murderer is also impacted. The family of the person who did this is also impacted. And so Morris's mom addressing the victims' families in her impact statement, because she was impacted.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know what you call it. Is there a German word for that? What do you call it?
I'm sure there is, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Okay. Because I Googled it and all the internet said is impact statement. Well, there has to be a different word for when somebody who, I guess, whose loss is different, but still in pain over the situation, says, "I'm sorry to you."
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry that happened to you. I don't know what that is, but that's incredible to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, she too lost her son as a result of his crimes. She suffered great loss in her life. Young mother, your partner won't claim his son, and then the father gets murdered. It's just like she also the odds were stacked against her too. And now I don't know. I just really thought that she really blew me away. And I think of that quote in Andor where the mom was like, tell him that I love him more than the worst thing he could ever do. And I think that's true for all mothers.
Yeah.
But even mothers of human beings that we've covered on this show who have done horrible things and end up on death row, she still loved her son. And I think she did an admirable thing with her impact statement. And I think it's a lesson for all of us. And I don't know what the word is for what she did, but whatever that word is, I think that's a good thing. And we should get more of it. And lastly, we cannot forget about the victims. Derek Anderson, Harold Wright, Rodney Jones, David Curtis, and Jeffrey Kokab, who were violently ripped from this earth, from their lives, from their loved ones, and their communities. And so there you go.
There it is.
Anything else to add?
Nope. That's all I got.
Pretty comprehensive, if you ask me.
Yeah. This was a sad episode, but it was really interesting.
Yeah, it really was. And I, again, was just that mom. I don't know what I'm dying to know what Fruities. What do you call that?
What is the German word for that?
Something bad happens to all of you, maybe to higher degrees to another person in this terrible situation. But you say, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry. Just like acknowledge their pain, even though you're in pain too. Come on. There's gotta be a word. What's the word? Fruities, let us know.
What's the word?
What is the word? What is the reason? Okay. Well, that's all, my friend. All right, Beth, where can the people find us?
Our website is fruitloopspod.com, and we use Fruit Loops Pod for all of our social media. The footnotes for each episode can be found on our website. Plus, check it out for the different ways that you can support the show. You can also join us on Patreon, where we have hundreds of hours of bonus content. You can also support us by supporting our sponsors, or by giving us a 5-star review.
5 stars only, please.
Don't forget to subscribe.
That's right. Now, this is a weekly podcast, and episodes drop on Thursdays. So until next time, look alive, y'all. It's crazy out there. I guess it's episode time. Whew.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, a little
It's time to roll.
hydration station. Uh-oh, boogers. Okay. Okay.
All right, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
The Scrub and West Tampa. Did I read that right? The Scrub? Yep. Okay, the Scrub and West
it's
Tampa.
It's a neighborhood, I guess.
Ah, okay. The Scrub and West. I love fun names for neighborhoods. Yeah. They got a
I
neighborhood.
Live in the Scrub.
The Scrub. So
Jim Crow laws, racial violence, and herbal renewal. But sorry, it's doing something.
Nope. Take your time.
Can you hear anything?
No, I did hear a burp earlier. Are you okay?
Oh, that was me. Yeah. I was drinking a soda. Stanton, right? Where did I even get that?
Are your glasses okay?
I saw it. I read it. I didn't say it.
Because mine are always dirty, so I mix up words all the time. Sorry, something weird popped up on my laptop. I got this update, and then the laptop just pops up every 20 minutes. Time to rest your eyes.
Shut up.
Sorry.
Leave me alone.
Yeah. So, in the same city where Freedom once built churches. Oh, Friedman. Suggested the shooter fired. Oh, wait, you said that already.
Yep. I was wondering where you were going with that. Where are you going with that?
You know me, girl. It's late. It's late over here. So Ashley. Oh, what?
Oh, I was going to start reading your part. I don't know why.
What's going on with us?
I don't know.
So,
and back to the story. Where are we?
Well, here's the kicker. I don't remember where we stopped.
Let's see. Where I think the next thing is the trial.
Okay. So Wendy didn't. So, okay, my friend, I'm going to stop the recording and I'll see you on the internet. Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
I love you. Bye.
Love you too. Bye.
Hang in there. Okay.
Okay. You too.
Okay. You too.
Bye.